Hello, my name is Crucimix. How's it going, everybody? I've been having a pretty good week myself, can't complain one single bit. It's been a little while since I've uploaded, about a week, and I feel like I need to get back into the groove of things with a very classic Crucimix topic. Luckily for me, one of the old gods of YouTube has decided to make a fool of himself once again. See, about 5 days ago, Anthony Padilla of Smosh fame released a video called Idubbbz Addresses a Controversial Past - I Spent the Day with Idubbbz. Now, this is a 40-minute video, and it's mostly just fluff. It's talking about things like Idubbbz' childhood, his past, it's a various conversation, it's a veritable argument or a podcast of sorts for the average viewer to just enjoy. If they're a big fan of these two creators, they might just find a little bit of saturated delight from this. But for me, I find a very acrid, very sour flavor that's causing a bit of agony in my mouth. But this wretched flavor only comes from about 10 minutes of the video. I definitely recommend watching. Maybe go and skip about to 6 minutes in if you want context for this video, and watch until the 15-minute mark. But if you're too lazy for that, I'll go ahead and give you a rundown of the little situation that's going on here. I don't think I really need to give context for who Idubbbz is, but just in case, he was a guy who was very big in 2016. He's been kind of going downhill recently. My opinions on him have degraded rapidly, the same way for H3 and various other artists who used to make some of the greatest content on this platform, but now make absolute dog water. Just as it was with many of his contemporaries, Idubbbz had fostered an audience who was very attracted, very into the idea of edgy things, just saying things for the sake of saying things that were very naughty, things that were very bad to say. But eventually, as with many of his friends and allies, he decided to turn over a new leaf and start making content that was a lot more socially acceptable to avoid the ban hammer of YouTube as it started cracking down on more edgy things. And that's all well and good. While the sacrifices he made definitely left his content not really favorable for people like me anymore, it was still very marketable. He's still doing pretty well to this day, and I honestly can't fault him for that at all. He basically took the only path that would allow him to survive on this platform. YouTube really was cracking down on anyone with a slightly subversive sensibility. But changing avenues is never the thing that caused me anger against these people. It's the constant revisionist history and the self-hatred, the loathing for everything that brought them the fame and success they garnered. Everyone knows that good times don't really last, but pretending as if those good times were just horrible and wretched makes me so filled with disgust that I can't stand these individuals. These people just constantly pretending like every little bit of fun they had in the past has to be apologized for. But even this only makes me lose respect for them. It doesn't really make me hate them quite yet. What really sends me down this avenue of absolute loathing these individuals is whenever they look back at the previous audience, the people who put them on the pedestal they're on now, and laugh and diminish them. Now, if you've seen this video in question, you might be saying, well, that's not exactly what he did, now is it? And dear viewer, I gotta say, you might just be right, but if you get ahead of me again, I'm going to circumcise you with a machete. How about I show you a highly edited out of context clip posted by Anthony Padilla himself, I believe, onto his TikTok.
I did not like the interactions that I had with fans. There were quite a few human beings that I interacted with that just sucked because I attracted a lot of people who sucked. Some people were very much like antisocial, weird, basement dwellers. You know, the one time a month that they come out of their cave and they run into me, their favorite YouTuber.
And what would they say? What would they do?
Things that I am certainly not going to repeat. I'm talking bad words.
Words that we only say by describing the first letter?
Yeah, exactly. Man, what a powerful way of putting it.
Now, as I said, this is actually pretty out of context, and there is a tiny bit of information that does make Idubbbz look slightly more favorable, because he starts this conversation by stating that he wanted to change because of his disposition towards his fans being kind of negative whenever they're coming up to him and saying these negative things, and he saw himself garnering this audience because of the things he was saying and doing. Now, I actually believe him on this. I wholeheartedly believe this is the reason he decided to change. However, have you considered the very simple, possible, subversive fact that these are all things that make you a loser? When my audience is coming up to me and saying the N-word. Oh, you don't like it when people come up to you and say the N-word in public. Oh, fuck, dude, I was thinking you must have loved that because you spent like 30 minutes doing it. Remember that time you gang-stalked another creator the same way the FBI gang-stalks Rusty Cage for building that giant guillotine in his backyard? Because I vaguely remember this one time. Correct me if I'm wrong. I could be absolutely dead wrong. I could definitely be so wrong that you could like bury me in a ditch, but correct me if I'm wrong. You one time went up to another creator at their own convention center in public, got so close as to put your arm around them, looked into the camera, and then said, say N-word with a hard R.
We're going on a road trip. We're going to see Tennamongu at the Tennamongu concert in San Francisco. She tweeted some really nice things at me. Road trip!
gonna be like the last ones to see Tana, so I'm pretty thrilled about that. And we're gonna be like that little cherry on top, so a little whipped cream fluff frosting.
This girl's gonna take a picture because this camera's like for the future.
Say no.
You know you're stupid.
And I thought that was the greatest video. I showed it to all my friends. I loved that. You know how many Idubbbz fanatics I created from that video? Because altogether, you made a great point. You very well constructed an argument for the use of that word, how no word should be off limits because if one is, all of them should be. No races should be treated better than others because that creates the very problem that, you know, makes the word a problem in the first place. But even back then, it's not like you chose some random woman. You chose someone who was perfectly capable and willing to say the N-word they had in the past, and they repeatedly bashed other people for using it. They said it was a very naughty word, and yet they used it themselves. So color me surprised when not only are people coming up to you and saying that exact word, your literal catchphrase being the N-word plus the F-slur for gay people. I mean, wow, that's crazy that people would do that. So it's okay for you to go up to a creator in a public space, code them, get really close to them, intimately close to them, embarrass them with the N-word after they said it in the past, but if someone does it to you, it's not okay. When you do it, it's just a cool guy making a video, just a really cool, a really in-depth video essay, a content cop, guys, a really great video. And if anyone else does it, they're basement dwellers. Honestly, I don't even have a problem with that word. Yeah, we're probably freaks. Yeah, we're probably antisocial. Everyone who used to be one of your fans might have been a weird antisocial guy, might have been a really strange creature that just comes out of their basement once a month, sees Idubbbz, and decides to say the gamer word, but man, you used to be one of us. This used to be a website of freaks making content for freaks. It was the place to be. That's why it was good, and suddenly you've lost not only your sight of that, but you lost your respect for your fellow man, your fellow schizophrenic, and that part really upsets me. Now, if this was just an out-of-pocket comment, if this was just a one-time thing, I wouldn't be here making 10 minutes worth of video commentary. There just wouldn't be that much to talk about. But it isn't just a one-time thing. It's this constant downward spiral, this pervasive narrative coming from all of the old gods, but especially Idubbbz, since he was at the highest, he had the farthest distance to fall, and he has fallen. And somehow, in every single one of these situations, he presents a very logical, very sound argument as to why his shitty behavior is just okay, it's just acceptable, this is just the way things are now, guys. We couldn't let Sam Hyde anywhere near the next creator clash because he's a business risk, guys. He's not okay. He's going to present a inaccountable variable that we can't plan around. We just don't know what he's capable of. There's always some greater explanation as to why this just has to be how things are. But just because there's logic behind every choice you make doesn't change the fact that it's all very cowardly, it's all very shameful, it's all very disrespectful towards the very people who got you into the position you're in now. And the reason I bring up the Sam Hyde thing is both because I've been a long-term fan of Sam Hyde since I was a little wee baby, and also because I find it very entertaining how Idubbbz accidentally introduced his old audience to a person who is more similar to how he used to be than he is now. He accidentally showed the world a better content creator for the exact kind of content he used to be providing. And the second that happened, he burns bridges, he starts trying to keep them as far away from any event he plans as possible, instead of trying to regarner some of his old fan base and build a little bit of respect from everyone. He decides to burn a bridge and disrespect the entirety of all the people who loved him. And it really does just bum me out to see him falling for the exact same fallacy that H3 fell into. I mean, he certainly held himself with more class than H3, but it's still the same pervasive narrative of tearing down and destroying everything you once built up, and trading yourself for this audience of people who constantly decide on what is and isn't socially acceptable, this constantly changing set of rules. People who care more about their arbitrary set of laws, their own little belief system, than they do about your personality or content, are always going to make for bad audiences, because they're never going to stick around when the heat gets hot. Now, I do think Idubbbz will be able to stick around a lot longer than H3, because I feel like he's diversified himself to the point that he has much more mass appeal. He's not playing specifically to these rule makers, he's instead going for just about everyone that isn't a freak or a schizo, but he's definitely lost our respect, you know what I mean? I mean, that's about as much logic and thought as I can put into this as like a well-constructed argument or whatever as to why I dislike him, but genuinely, it's just, he seems lame. He seems so lame now, and the only reason I'm still interested whatsoever is because I have this desire to watch the carnage of a train wreck go on. I mean, it seems like everything he does now is just L after L after L, dude. Even the way he's dressed is just like, what are you doing? This is no drip, this is no fashion, there's no style here, this is just shameful. Every podcast appearance he makes, he has to re-explain why he no longer makes edgy content. Feels like he's constantly apologizing for the jokes he used to make. Like, dude, things used to be fun. You used to be allowed to have fun on here. Just admit it. It's okay. It's fine. We used to have fun, dude. And it's not even just lame. It also feels just so stupid and fake. Like, going podcast to podcast, channel to channel, re-apologizing in front of all these fresh eyes, in front of these new audiences, in the hopes that you'll glean some small amount of social acceptability. And yeah, it's working. It's just such a disgusting, scummy way to do it. It's like seeing a pit bull with its teeth removed. I mean, yeah, it's not gonna bite babies, but that's why we bred that dog for that reason. It's funny. We like it when it does that. If I want some child-safe dog, I'll get a Chihuahua. I want my baby Mauler 2000 back, you know what I'm saying? You've taken this animal out of the wild and even convinced it that the wild is bad for it, so now it just walks everywhere with its tail between its legs, pretending as if everything's alright. And that really is the kind of audience these people are garnering. It's the people who go on Reddit constantly, the people who give vasectomies their own volition, and by God, it's even the people who take their wife's last name, if you know the kind of person I'm referring to. Anyway, I'm sorry if that was a bit more of a ranty subject. It isn't actually really what I wanted to talk about this week, but nothing has been going on except for the Sneeko thing, and I just do not care about the Sneeko thing. I mean, Moist Critical pulled out a gun, and that is pretty funny. I'm considering talking about that, but I don't know. That's a lot of effort for something I really don't care that much about. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you did somehow manage to enjoy this, please consider subscribing. My name is, has been, and will be Crucimix, and it is Crucimix on Twitter as well. When I'm not here, I'm there, so please consider checking me out. I love you. Goodbye.